Every real estate expert promotes a different strategy: house flipping, Airbnb, multifamily, commercial space. They disagree about all of it. But after talking to over 300 investors, I found that every single one who actually built wealth follows the same 5 principles. And I use those principles to build a $5 million portfolio of 22 properties while working a full-time job. So I am going to break down all 5, show you why they work, and show you how to use them so you don't waste years investing into the wrong thing. Let's talk about the 5 rules. Rule number 1, pick one lane. The biggest difference between successful investors and those who remain stuck is focus. Chad Carson is the perfect example of this. He didn't try to flip houses, do short-term rentals, and buy commercial real estate all at once. He only focused on buy and hold small residential properties in Clemson, South Carolina at the beginning. Chad is an author, investor, podcaster, and lifelong learner. He used real estate investing to reach financial independence in his 30s with a portfolio of 30 plus houses and small multifamily properties. Other successful investors choose one strategy, one type of property, and often one market, and they stay committed to it until they become master of it. In my case, I focused on single family homes in cash flowing markets. I did not switch between Airbnb, flipping, or even commercial properties. Because I stayed consistent, I was able to build something that compounds over time. Not just the capital, but also experience, relationship, and deal flow. Each property I purchased made the next one easier. Each mistake I made early on helped me improve my process later. That is the real advantage of staying in one lane. Write down 3 real estate strategies that genuinely interest you. It can be single family rentals, short-term rentals, house hacking, small multifamily. Then run each through the 3 filter test. Can your current capital fund 3 to 5 deals in this niche within the next 2 years? Does the active work demand fit your weekly hours? Do you already have an edge, market knowledge, contractor relationship, analytical skill? Can you realistically build one? The strategy that passes all 3 filters is your lane. Commit to it for minimum of 12 months before even evaluating a pivot. But of course, just being focused on one type of real estate isn't going to magically make you successful. And that's where the second rule comes in. But before going to the second rule, if you are planning to buy your first rental property and want to build long-term wealth, I teach all of those inside my Entrepreneurship Mastermind program. Link in the description below. Let's talk about rule number 2. Optimize for cash flow before portfolio value. Brandon Turner, an author of 7 books, entrepreneur, and active real estate investor with more than 1,000 rental units under his belt, emphasizes that buying for cash flow is the safest long-term investment. Most beginners evaluate a property by asking whether it will increase in value. A better question is whether the property will generate positive cash flow from the beginning. Cash flow means after each paying for your mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, the property still produces income. This is important because you cannot control market appreciation. However, you can control whether a property produces income or not. As long as your property are cash flowing, you are not losing money, even if the market fluctuates. For example, last year, my portfolio generated approximately $105,000 in net income after all the expenses. The market changed throughout the year, but the income remained consistent. Cash flow also gives you stability. It helps you with rule number 4 and rule number 5 as well, which we will see later. Use the 50% rule as your first pass filter. Take the gross monthly rent and multiply by 0.5. That estimates accounts for taxes, insurance, vacancy, repairs, and property management. Whatever is left is your net operating income. Then subtract your mortgage payment. If the remainder is less than $200 per door, the property fails the screen and you move on. Don't waste hours on full underwriting. If it passes, now you do the detailed work. Get actual insurance quote, look up the property tax history, call a property manager to get realistic vacancy rates for that zip code. These 2 steps filter means you can evaluate 20 properties in the time most beginners spend agonizing over one that never cash flowed to begin with. Once you understand cash flow, the next step is making sure you are not putting yourself at a disadvantage from the moment you buy the property. Here comes the rule number 3. Always buy below market value. In real estate, a significant portion of your profit is determined at the time of purchase. Dean Graziosi has said it for decades. Your profit is made at the buy, not the sell. His book, Be a Real Estate Millionaire, teaches you to discover the 7 keys to uncovering hidden real estate values, meaning deals that the average buyer walks right past. If you pay full market values, you need everything to go right. Rents to rise, appreciation to kick in, vacancy to stay low. But if you buy at a 15 to 20% discount, you have already locked in a profit cushion on day one. That's how you sleep at night. If you buy a property below its market value, you create immediate equity. For example, if a property is worth 150,000 and you purchase it for 130,000, you start with 20,000 in equity. This provides a margin of safety, same as like stock investment. It protects you from market fluctuation, unexpected expenses. To find these opportunities, you need to work with agents who understand investment properties. Look for properties that need minor improvements. Negotiate every deal. In the past, I have negotiated between $10,000 and $60,000 below asking price on different properties. Apply 3-step offer discipline. First, pull 6 months of closed comparable sales to establish the after repair value before you ever walk through the door. Second, work the property with a contractor and get a written repair estimate. Third, apply the 70% rule. Your maximum offer equals the ARV after repair value multiplied by 0.7 minus repair cost. That built-in margin is your profit cushion, your buffer against cost overruns, and your protection against a bad market. That's how you make money in real estate. After finding a good deal, the next decision is how to finance it. This is where many investors slow down their growth. Here comes the rule number 4. Use financing strategically. Robert Kiyosaki is the outspoken personal finance icon, famous for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the hugely successful personal finance book. He mentioned the following in the Iced Coffee Hour podcast. The host asked, "How much debt do you have?" Robert Kiyosaki answered, $1.2 billion. One of his philosophies is masterful utilization of other people's money to turbocharge investing and achieve financial freedom. Financing allows you to control larger assets with less capital. Instead of paying cash for one property, you can use financing to acquire multiple properties over time. For example, with a 20% down payment, you can control a $150,000 property with just $30,000. However, the type of financing you choose is very critical. I always use 30-year fixed rate loans or DSCR loans, which provide stable monthly payments. I avoid adjustable rate mortgages and short-term loans that introduce uncertainty. Over time, inflation increases rent while your mortgage remains fixed. This improves your cash flow year after year. For my case, I started investing in 2016 with approximately $30,000. I did not have a background in real estate. I simply followed these 5 rules consistently. Over time, I built a portfolio of 22 properties worth around $5 billion, generating steady income. There is a progression here. Most beginners should start at level 1, conventional financing with 20 to 25% down on a straightforward rental. It has the most predictable monthly payment and the lowest lender scrutiny. Level 2 is house hacking with an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down. You live in one unit and rent the others, and the rental income offsets or eliminates your housing cost entirely. This is arguably the highest ROI move a new investor can make. Level 3 is BRRRR. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. which lets you recycle the same capital across multiple properties by pulling it back out through a cash out refinance after the forced appreciation of a renovation. But before any loan, run Kiyosaki's good debt test. Does the rental income cover the debt payment with cash left over? If the deal only works if everything goes perfectly, it's too fragile. Can you survive 3 to 6 months of vacancy and still pay the mortgage? If the answer is no, you are over leveraged. Does the asset build both equity and cash flow simultaneously? If yes, on all three, the debt is working for you, not against you. But even with the right financing, your results will depend heavily on one final decision. There comes the rule number 5, hold long term. John W. Scubb is a nationally recognized real estate author and investor who has prospered during 6 recessions, 4 tax law changes, and interest rates ranging from 3 to 16%. He explained that building wealth one house at a time does not require a lot of education, money, or even time. It does require one thing, that you buy a house and hold it until you make some serious money. But most investors sell too early. They see a tiny bit of appreciation, take profits, and exit the investment. However, long-term holding is what allows wealth to compound. When you hold a property, tenants gradually pay down your mortgages. Rent typically increases over time. Inflation reduces the real cost of your debt. Cash flow becomes more stable. Additionally, there are tax advantages such as depreciation and 1031 exchanges, which allow you to defer taxes when reinvesting. Holding is not just a passive decision, it is a deliberate strategy. Time is the force multiplier that makes all the other rules compound. When you hold a property long term, 4 separate wealth engines are running simultaneously. Your tenants are paying down your mortgage balances every single month. Rent rise with inflation while your fixed rate mortgage stays constant, meaning your cash flow automatically expands every few years without any action on your part. The property value appreciates across market cycles, and you can use a 1031 exchange to sell one property and roll the gain into a larger one without triggering a capital gains tax event. John Scubb's discipline is simple. Buy a property intending to hold it until it at least doubles in value, which historically takes 10 to 20 years depending on the market. To make sure nothing forces you to sell early, keep 6 months of mortgage reserves in cash at all times, so a recession, a long vacancy, or a major repair never puts you in a distressed sell position. And if you do eventually sell, always 1031 exchange into the next deal. Cashing out and paying capital gains tax is almost always the wrong move for a long-term investor. For myself, I 1031 exchanged 2 properties into 14 properties in the last 4 years. Now you understand how to build a real estate portfolio the right way. But once your properties start generating consistent cash flow, how should you invest that income to grow your net worth even faster? That is exactly what I teach in my entrepreneurship mastermind program. Check the link in the description below for details. I will see you in the next video.